Alrighty guys, what is going up? Welcome back to the Best Investing Money Management channel on YouTube. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the one, the only, ticker symbol FB, also known as Meta, also more commonly known as Facebook. Now, over the past couple of years, we've seen extreme growth from Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to call it. Looking at this 3-year chart, you can see it has this general upward trend. We do have the crash here in 2020, immediately got rebounded just because a whole bunch of tech stocks did very well that year. And then we had a little bit of consolidation, more buying pressure. It hit highs here at about $384. Sold off, found some support near 300, bounced up, found resistance at about 350, sold off, and just pretty much consolidated there for a minute until this massive sell-off, where the sell-off went from about $300 all the way to $239. Looking at the daily chart, you can see just how massive this thing was, right? Pretty much overnight, if you'd have bought Facebook, 2 days ago, right now you're looking at a terrible return of probably minus 25, minus 26%. Now, the reason why we've had a ton of sell-off from Facebook is because of this right here. Okay, this represents earnings. So this is pretty much when a company comes out and they say, hey, this is the stuff we've done very good on. This is the stuff we need to work on. Here is our revenue. Here is our active users. Here is everything inside the company that investors need to know so they can make their investments. And during this time, they actually had the first time in company history that they had a slowdown on daily active users with Facebook. Now, Facebook makes a bulk, if not all of their money from advertisements. So when you hear that news that says, hey, for the first time in company history, we've had a decrease in active users, investors are going to say, screw that. Why would I invest in Facebook when I could be investing somewhere else that's the company's growing more? So I completely understand why we had this sell-off, right? It's justified 100%. Okay. Now, answering the question of kind of what's going on, that's the bulk issue. Is they released earnings, it wasn't the greatest. And yes, I do think Facebook carries a lot of potential in the long run, but in the short term, it could be very, very volatile, right? Meaning this thing could sell off down to 220. This thing could come back to 300. There is going to be a lot of ups and downs with Facebook. And the thing is a lot of people like to say, oh, well, a 25% fall on Facebook is that's decent, and I don't think people realize that that amount of sell-off is worth about $220 billion in market cap. So $220 billion moved out of Facebook and went elsewhere in the market. So that is a lot of money. And I always like to say that, yes, Facebook is a great stock, a great growth stock, but they're heavily in the news. They've been investing in the metaverse for a while. They own a ton of companies, Oculus, a whole bunch of things. So me personally, I definitely think that this buying Facebook right now could be a decent time to buy it. And I know a lot of people are going to say, Carter, why would you say that? I completely get it, but you have to realize that this is just short-term volatility. If you look back at a company like Apple or Amazon, Tesla even, they all went through hard times where they had decreases in revenue, where they missed earnings, where they missed deliveries, where they didn't sell enough iPhones, where they didn't sell enough iPads. It just happened the other day with Apple, where they missed out on deliveries with their iPads, but their iPhone sales were double the normal rate. So that caused Apple, the stock, to go up, but in reality, their iPad sales fell down. So I definitely think it all comes with perspective. So answering that question, should you buy it? I definitely think it comes down to your risk tolerance, 100%. So for me, a good strategy for this stock would be to dollar cost average it if you have that outlook of more than 2 years. That's kind of where we're at with this stock, just because of how volatile it is. I definitely think that Facebook is going to be moving into other things, and they probably realize that themselves is, how many people can we have, right? Very similar to Netflix. They kind of hit their peak peak amount of people that they can always have, because there's so many streaming services out there right now, and there's only so many people that are gonna pay the $15 a month. Very similar to Facebook, there's only so many people out there. There's only so many people that are interested and want social media. So I definitely think that in the short term, Facebook is going to be very, very volatile. But in the long term, that Facebook is investing into other things such as the metaverse. They own Oculus. They own a whole bunch of other things that could outweigh that loss for the long term. I definitely think it all comes down to perspective. So for me, I'm going to be dollar cost averaging it. Nothing crazy. I definitely keep this stock, under that 5%, maybe even 7% of your portfolio size. So for every $100 you have invested into other assets, I wouldn't go more than like $7 into Facebook. And if you multiply that out with $1,000, 10,000, all of that, turns out to be like 70, 700, all of that. So for me, Facebook does carry a lot of potential, but right now in the short term, a lot of risk, and you have to understand that before investing in it. But it's very common. Looking back, at Apple, yeah, we've had that great upward trend, but if we go back to max available, you can see, if we pan in for a couple of days where they had these massive sell-offs, right? Even back in here, these massive amounts of sell-off where the stock falls 20, 25% in the short term. So it all comes with, that perspective. Even a fall like this, where Apple fell 50, 60% in value. And people, I'm sure, were freaking out at the time. But if you had that long-term outlook with, Facebook, then it will outweigh it for sure. But look at that dip, man. That is absolutely crazy. Use it possibly as an opportunity, but don't be shaken out if you have that long-term mindset, guys. So that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe. We will see you guys later. Remember to stay happy, guys. Stay positive. Stay safe. We'll see you later. Take care.